day. I wasn't going to do this, but I had to put a new one out because McRaven's and Hammett's dude last night was doing a setup, and apparently it was actually what the setup was actually was quite interesting. On Stupendous Wave, there was the fourth apprentice, and then she showed. Then he's talked about two other apprentices and stuff. That was actually Kathleen Kennedy acknowledging what I was saying the day before about what they did to Princess Diana, and that's how this type of communication works. It's really, really, really subtle, and that's why you have to be a higher vibration to be able to get it. And she knows this, and she's going to say, "Well, you're just being crazy." So I'm going to go, yep, I'm crazy." So that really doesn't matter. Take that with a grain of craziness. But what happened last night, around 5, the kid who is just really, he's really a sad case. He's the Hammett clone, the guy to my left, if I'm looking outwards, comes up and he makes sure he stands in front of the camera and he's like, "You said you're a combat vet, combat vet." And he keeps repeating it and repeating it. And I'm like, this is a recording of some sort. And I knew what was going on at the time. I was just kind of just wanting to, kind of what was going, totally what's going on. Then, as normal, this morning, it's revealed they chop. This is like the fourth or fifth time that they do that they have done that. Found a video or try to say something and then say that I was saying something else. I'm gonna say something right now. If it's not on my channel, Morpheus Mirror, it's false. It's something cut up by McRaven and the Carlisle group, which is Stravitas, and Hammett. Because what the thing is, the need to attack me about this is that means I'm right. They don't attack when I'm wrong. Always understand that. They don't do the libel unless I'm right. And the other thing is, the other thing was also, it's Camilla is, task to be drawn out, or Charles will lose his crown. They'll either vote it out because that's what because of what I stated in the last video about Lady Markle. It's true. I guess Hammett finally got the memo as far as trying to kill me, and that really doesn't sit well with a lot of very bigots who've been putting a lot of years into overthrowing the United States Constitution, especially the part where I showed the other day on the last video of how the Constitution works, how we the people are the deep state. See, and that they don't want to rebalance what is it? The constitutional order. That's when their attack was, and they're a little, and also that I've known that they were what they were trying to do. They're trying to, as far as the music and everything. The more they keep trying to manage me, the more they tell me where they're trying to manage me to, and that's what they do to a lot of Black African Americans. They manage them into positions they don't realize they're being managed into. It was quite funny during the conversation. I should have recorded it. Next time I probably will, because this is the second time he's used this pattern. So now that I know it's a pattern of attack, I can just sit back and go, okay, you're making a pattern of attack. I'll just sit there and make you look stupid. And so this kid is the whole argument kept going back and forth about being a combat vet. Then he went, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing about real estate." And I'm going, as I'm just sitting there going, "What I know is none of your fucking business, dude." But he's like, "If you think you could buy this place," and I'm thinking, "Yeah, actually, I do know I can buy this place." But would he take my terms? Would the owner take my terms? And I said, I didn't say that to him, but I just went, yeah. And it's like, if you could do this, you could do that, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, It's none of your business. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing what I'm doing, which is exactly because of I know, like the reason, even though the psychology of me flailing with day trading, like for instance, I could have taken the course, the whatever, not, Trade Pro Academy. I actually started to, but the way that it was written out and everything, I was like, okay. And then you try to go the day into the room with, and then he would just sit there. It was just like fuck it. And I remember he said, "Hey, I like it better when people have come up with their own system." I'm like, you're right, because and then I even and then what's it, the crazy dude, Mr. Box, couldn't he, psychopath Box. Well, I shouldn't say he's a psychopath person, but his eyes are very wild. Mr. Box. And it's so people who are just so now that I have a system that works for what I want to do long term. Because what's one of the things I realized is I needed to create a system that works for the way I want, for me, for what my goals are, and then I can go in. That's why I keep saying, then I'll use your systems, and that's the thing. I'll go back and all the websites. Now that I have come up with a system, I'll go back and go in and do and build out the system that's in my mind in the way that I want it to reach the goals in the way that I want to reach them. A lot of times they'll throw some money at you. They'll go like, "Here's some money," and people are like, "Oh my God, there's money! Get it, get it, get it, get it! I got to do this." And I'm like, if I take your money from in your way, then I lose the thing that matters most. So fuck off. And that's what they're trying to do. And then, as I stated, they need to override the fact of that the Carlyle Group and all these others are actually trying to control the crown, and they believe that they would be able to do it through me. And Prince Charles, with Camilla, and I'm not going to call her a lady, is whispering in Charles's ear, and that's what her whole plan is. The problem is she will end up destroying the crown. My selfish best interest is to uphold the crown. And then they're also pissed because I was like, "Hey, dude, told the Saudis need some money. they still need some money, but it would be they would. I know that they want to help the Queen investment account, just as par for whatever, as geopolitics." And the other part that they're really, really pissed off is about Lady Markle. Me finally letting her know that she's going to she needs that going to learn from the Queen is paramount, because she will be the most powerful woman of the 21st century if she uses what her knowledge, her wisdom, and is willing to grow, and that she has to go learn from the Queen because her mother does not have the experience for what is to come. Only Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, has such experience and knowledge and wisdom. So that what they were trying to do was to break down, "Oh, you don't do anything, blah blah blah." This is the second time they've done this, made that argument. So, and it's also to cover the fact that Rob is running an illegal SEAL team on United States soil. I saw one East Coast SEAL following me the other day. As I said, they all have a different movement. You can always see them. So it's been a very interesting. Uh, but there's another thing, because I didn't really get to it yesterday because I was going for much longer than I was expecting, because I hadn't gone anything in 2 weeks. Like today, this morning, it's because apparently they must have rolled down to the judge and did a little whisper in her ear, or maybe it was just purely as the conscious, universal or cultural consciousness. The judge in Florida said, "Oh, we're going to grant Trump a special master," which is what Trump wants, to keep pushing the timeline back. And this is where, when Trump came in, people in Europe were going, who in Russia actually are going, they seen this before. They said our systems would not be able to protect us, and they almost failed, but we were able to hold them up. And part of it, when you look at the Orban system, that's one of the things they do is they get the judges. And so this is what Trump is expecting of the Supreme Court. I don't know if it would be better. My first reaction was, okay, Merrick Garland needs to not let this happen, and then push it all the way up to the Supreme Court to prove that the Supreme Court is, and the whole court system has been corrupted by these Trump judges. But that's up to Merrick Garland. He's far wiser. This is his. He was a former judge. He should have been on the Supreme Court. So he's been playing it very, very well. It's my job to try to to see things. I know they already see this, but or to show what is going on in another manner, to take the complicated and make it simple, but still maintain the ability for people to be understand the complications of it. So, where were we at? And the fact that and the reason about the first I said about that first thing with stupendous wave is it shows straight up, it fits right back into the positive negative. So she gave a positive that only I would see, so that was a kind of a gaslight, and then the negative, so give, take, and then put the negative out there, say point the negative to me, and then take my positive. Well, she gave me a little bit of positive, which was a false positive, and the main thing was a negative. That's how their mind works, back and forth. It's always a dialectic, always, because they don't exist. Remember that. It's a stuck child. So I'm not even upset. It's just like I feel sorry for this kid. He's just like, dude. But you know. So now that I know, because that's the second time he's pulled that, and that's the same thing that Rob used to pull as well. And I bet you they turned off the cameras out front, but maybe if they didn't, but who knows? Uh, oh yeah, there was another thing with Stacey Abrams. I was thinking, hopefully, where oh where is okay, Stacey Abrams, uh, Brian Kemp tries to keep you from being your joyous self. It's kind of cool to watch when you get really really excited. She jump ups and down and stuff. It's really really cool. So I've been saying it to myself, but apparently that has not gotten out because I guess they keep cutting it and not sending it to you because remember they're playing both sides because they're trying to start World War III. Always remember that. These guys really want to destroy the world because they want to feed off that negative energy and then be like, oh, look how a great hero we are, but you killed millions of people. What kind of hero is that? That's a, right? The other thing I've learned is that they're cutting off people in Africa's voice and South America because it's the same thing. But, and then you have the wasp because that's where the thing is like, oh, we're to crush the wasp, and they were thinking blah blah blah. But which then confirmed to me it was the evangelicals, plus the fact Kathleen Kennedy doesn't believe that I said when I said that it was the evangelicals that are the ones who killed her brothers, but because they did the exact same pattern. Because the psychopath's a psychopath. It's just a simple pattern. They can't go very long without feeding, and it was the same pattern that was where I was slowing down everything in Ukraine, and because if our generals get quote directly involved, then Putin has the impetus to call a general call up and put the whole country on a war footing, which means World War III begins. And so I just using my mind, my understanding, what I was taught. And the thing is, what he doesn't realize, even with the strategy and all that, it's the way you think at these commands is completely different than the entire rest of the military. And judge by looking at this guy and listening to the way this guy is acting, Hammett never made it back to Dam Neck. Or if he did, they might have had him as a commander for a wee bit, but he never went through certain things that helped him, that would have changed his way of thinking, because he's not trustworthy enough. And he's also probably pissed that the team guys now know that he's actually truly evil, and he would leave, McRaven and Hammett would leave them sitting on the battlefield. They might not say it, they might play the whole game, but in reality, they can care less about them. And so they had to cover their ass, and so did Kathleen Kennedy, because Hollywood is working to try to overthrow the crown. My power is with the crown. Why would I go against the crown? So, and then also my support is with the vets. So them having to try to undercut my support of veterans is what they're trying to do. And the whole thing was, it was like combat vet. I'm an Afghanistan veteran. I went to Afghanistan. Period. The end. My main thing was ECM. I know I have saved many people's lives because of the work that I did. And that I know that I've saved many other SEALs' lives by tanking my career. As can be seen by what happened to that other SEAL who, Trump was saying he wants him as a killer, when his own team said that he was just pure evil, which is Hammett. And that chief was actually doing what his commander was behaving in the manner that his commander wanted him to behave. So and he was saying, I don't know what I didn't do anything wrong. And like, you did a lot of things wrong, dude. But you were doing what your commander is doing. Then McRaven covered up for Hammett because that's his little mini-me. And then that the spec ops were being used, not so much as all the Green Berets, but because there's definitely a difference, but the damn sure with the SEALs, the theocratic nationalists, white nationalists, have been using the SEALs to create their little army, and that's the whole thing with the QAnon. And I remember Master Diver King saying to me once, because I was like saying, like, hey dude, I just came here to be a SEAL, and he goes, they won't let you through, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because by all accounts, that's not a problem getting through. I was not a person who's going to quit, especially if Hammett got through. That fucking, he's a tweedledick. At least he was back then. We were both the same rank, so he's, But now, as I now realize, it was McRaven putting him through. Hammett should have never gotten a commission. He should have never even been allowed to be a SEAL because of the EO complaint. But in really realized since he had the EO complaint, that's actually why he was actually raised to a commission. Showing and proving to myself the Navy is completely jacked up. And I would suggest, and it's as I stated in the EO complaint, the white Navy, even though the country's changing. And we're seeing that. This is why it is so important, this election and 2024 election. Two, most importantly, is holding Congress, the congresspersons who were willing to work with the former president to overthrow the country, and if and when holding these people to an account. These people have to be held to an account, because if you do not do this, the republic is dead. And with all the problems we have within America, they could only be solved if we, the people, have a voice. And that's the thing with Mitch McConnell, that he purposely has gummed up the works so people don't believe in America anymore. So let's see. So we're going to open this up here. Oh, come on. And so open recent. Okay. That's not the one I'm looking for. plan. Okay, so go back through the deep when he's talking about the deep state. The deep state are the people who work in all of these governmental agencies that uphold the law. And they probably really were flipping out about this particular graphic here because this is we the people. Then you have the Constitution. Then you have the laws. Then you have the justice system, which balances the spirit and the letter. Then you have the Article 1 and then Article 2, which is the president. Article 1 of the Constitution is stating creates the legislative branch. So the first is we the people say this is the laws we want, and then we say we the people want you, this one person, to execute the law, and then these guys we balance it out and say, okay, who's going to be our justices? And their job is to balance the Constitution and the law. And that's why you have these activist judges because, well, and they're saying originalist when realistically they're not being originalist unless you're talking about Confederate originalist with some of their interpretations, but just pure logic, pure basic logic, not even complex logic. And the other thing is, one of the things is all the things that they've tried to stop. Okay, when I was doing music, I got this raging like lightning flash. That was still when I was somewhat still connected to Miss Lewis. I've finally been able to break that bond, thank gosh. Then the last attack was when doing my personal studies, mystical studies. They were using this gentleman down below in a over the, to try to break that position. I made sure I talked about that. Then there's the because they wanted me to break from the universal consciousness, lower my vibration because my vibration was getting higher and higher. Because there's a camera, actually it's right in the either in the ceiling, but I was able to use Miss Cross to figure out that it was actually in the um, in the what's it called, smoke detector. So, and if it's not a smoke detector, close enough. But I also busted this dude because he stole my stick, my walking stick. So, and it's just like, really, dude, that's not how dead drop works. And it's probably Rob try to use it for alchemy or some weird shit. I have to remove the energy from that. Even though I've had it for a while, I removed the energy and brought it back to me. So all that's going to come to them is negative and their own destruction. You know, so what I've watched over the last years is where have they been attacking? And anytime I was doing something that I loved or I was getting really strong at, they attacked. And this tells me what they're afraid of. As I said, they thought they were managing me. You know, there's like, for instance, there's a apartment I want over here that's just across the road, and they've been doing. I actually got them set up to the point where they've proven that they're steering, and they're under assumption that I cannot take that apartment, that I won't sue, or that I won't grind it out. It'll take about 5 to 6 years, but I'll eventually own that apartment, and I will take away those two people the real estate license. I'll be suing them as well for steering, and they're going to say, well, but because I know that how these things are set up, all the technologies are set up, and how they have to work. And steering is illegal. Steering is what happens when they go, oh well, we have this, but also we don't, or da 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 da, and they steer. And that's how I got into this. They pretty much steered me, and I knew it. I just like, hey, whatever, I was gonna take a place. But they are more terrified of a person of melanin actually having independent power, because Jay-Z doesn't have independent power. Well, we're always dependent on each other, but still doesn't have independent power because he did not realize he was being used to keep black African Americans in check, in place. Miss Tiffany Cross is the exact same thing. Keeps them to do the same behaviors, so that way they cannot. So other black African Americans emulate the behaviors that will actually get them into jail. So that way it keeps the prison industrial complex cooking, keeps it profitable. So one of the things I wanted to, I guess it's not getting to Stacey Abrams, is the way of using the brand statement, which is Georgia good, and she doesn't have to change what she's saying, but she can sit there as she's speaking, roll it in. So you have Georgia, you have good, bad, and Georgia good. Repeat, approve, respond. And so the way this works is, somebody says, "Hey, that's a great day out." He goes, or say, "Yeah, it is." You repeat it. "Yeah, it is a great day out." Approve. Well, say, well, that's kind of built into it, and then respond, and then you can respond into the negative or positive. So that's how I usually know if somebody's being full of crud. Actually, if they start responding in the positive, trying to seem like it's a negative, they'll usually do the negative positive, the positive negative positive sandwich. That's the repeater. That's the other verbal tactic. But the repeat, approve, or respond is easier to use. So somebody says, "Well, I love what Brian Kemp's doing." You love what Brian Kemp's doing? I understand. That's awesome. May I ask, is it Georgia good? Or is it good, bad, or Georgia good? Well, it's good. He's doing a good job. Okay, well, what would Georgia good be? And you roll, and you're constantly using it. So let's say another thing is, I don't like what you got. I don't like what you've been saying. You don't like what I've been saying? I can understand that. But could you? Is it good, bad, or is it Georgia good? Or is it good or bad? Well, I think it's bad. Well, why do you think it's bad? Well, because of this. They go, what would it be if it was good? What would it be this? Well, what would it be if it was Georgia good? Well, it would be this. So you're saying if it was this, this, and this, and the reason is you go to that repeat, approve, and respond, and then you roll back into the good, bad, and Georgia good. Is Brian Kemp's kind of popular, somewhat popular in Georgia. So people might say, "Yeah, he's doing a good job," and you go, "Okay, but is it Georgia good?" You're repeating. He's like, "Oh, he's doing a good job." He's doing a good job. Oh, okay, I understand. Is that job a good job? Yeah. Well, why is it a good job? This is that. Well, that's awesome. That's So, but is that Georgia good? You see, you're splitting it into three. You're giving your mind, by using this structure, very simple structure. Keep practicing and keep practicing and practicing. Because at first, when I first learned it for sales, I was like, "This is weird stuff," but it actually works because you usually write out everything when you're doing phone sales and stuff like that, and you're running them through because you're actually trying to shift people through. But when you're just doing face to face, this gives you the mind. Because Stacey Abrams has a mind that's just going, dude, and it gives her a place to hone to, and that way she could bring out that enthusiasm and also still holding on, still being able to do the call and response. That is her normal rhythm. You see, so and then you have the good, bad, and Georgia good. It's saying, well, yeah, he's doing a good job, but is it Georgia good? Or, yeah, you're doing terrible. Oh, it's terrible, right? I understand. Please, it's terrible. Oh, okay, I don't really understand, but I can understand your position. Could you explain to me? Well, what would be good? Oh, blah, 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 blah. Brian Kemp's doing this, 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 and this. Well, that sounds awesome. Brian Kemp's doing that. But is that Georgia good? Well, yeah, it's Georgia good. Well, could you explain to me Georgia good? And then they're going to end up telling you exactly what they're thinking, even though it's just going to be a bunch of Republican talking points, and then you can start taking them down. still staying in with the same pattern and structured pattern, I should say. So that's just something that is I missed on the last one, but it was too. I was going for too long on the last one. So now the other thing, as far as Ukraine is concerned, right now we're seeing some stuff. We have what is it? What is it? Yugoslavia is one of those EU countries. We have this inflation. This inflation, the Saudis, MBS is working with the Russians and the Chinese. The Chinese are buying out, are in Afghanistan. They're in Iraq. Make no mistake about it. Because of OPEC Plus, MBS is thinking he's working with the Russians, pulling all this money in so he can have his own that little whatever they're building out in the desert. He wants to build out in the desert. And they were pissed off about letting the crown know that if World War III starts, or if I am assassinated, these are the persons who did it. They have to make a mess. They have to make a loud noise, devalue, so that way they can revalue and make themselves look good. It's always a dialectic. They cannot think without the dialectic. That's their natural thing, because then they set themselves in the middle of the dialectic, which is, from a Martinist perspective, or a Christian mystic's perspective, it's just a meme demon, if you want to use it as or a meme entity from a scientific perspective. So once again, lady, and the one thing that really bothers, and it was so funny, because I was watching that particular video. I was like, "Yo, great, you're gaslighting me, and nobody's gonna know." So you did help Lady Camilla murder Princess Diana by doing the same thing you did to Borba, and the same thing you were trying to do to me, which was trying to get me to disassociate. And then she turned between her and Hollywood, with Sharon Osbourne and others, turned the entire the palace staff against Lady Markle. And then Prince Charles, with his laissez-faire, blah blah blah, not so much, never really having to understand the true duty of what he's going to be thrust upon him. It was like, oh my. And they're calling Lady Markle's children the N-word. That's just not cool. And then if she's probably stood up for herself, and that's, I wish, hopefully there's the video, and if Lady Markle, probably the full video is out there, so you probably should find out where it is and watch it, because I'm just sitting there going, really, did? Thinking to myself, as he's playing his game. One of the things that he did was, what their favorite tactics is, they'll get you yelling, loud, or cut you off, and then they'll drop their volume down. And I called him out on it. I was like, hey, you just dropped your volume down, so it makes me look like I'm being the one loud, and you're not. And I called him straight out at it. Also, if you do get a hold of the video, look for where he's, anytime he does not acknowledge, that's a positive acknowledgement. It's an omission commission. It's just pure language that what I'm doing right here with when he was talking. It's not metaphysics, just pure language at that point. And understand, they're eventually going to make something stick, because they keep throwing. It's just like Trump, just throws shit, whine, throw shit, those stuff, and then try to stick that emotion on to me. Even if they hit that stick something, always know in the back of your mind, my selfish best interest is the Constitution and the upholding of the crown. Anything else out of that is a lie. So if it ever looks like, or trying to say, oh, he's doing this against the crown, that'd be stupid. Absolutely stupid for me. But no one's perfect. I'll make mistakes. Life is what it is. But at the end of the day, those are my selfish best interests. And to keep me, and then with Ukraine and Africa, it is to grow Africa, South America, to help people lift themselves out of poverty in the way that they want to lift themselves out of poverty. And because, as I stated, one of the things I stated was about Prince. Eric Prince is another one of those traders. Him and Betsy DeVos, the DeVos family. But because he trained China mercenaries, which are actually PLA soldiers, to help overrun Africa. They've been pretty much over trying to overturn the entire United States and the full world order from within and destroy America. And they know I'm one of the few people that stands in their way. So they have to in the, either destroy me physically or mentally or emotionally or whatever. And then the other thing is, of course, Kathleen Kennedy aiding and abetting a known felon in the act of a felony, which was the rape of Madison Orange, and by keeping Madison Orange from filing the suit, because giving her the dangle of, oh, we'll make you wealthy or rich or whatever, and the crown will destroy. Will not let that happen. Kathleen Kennedy's gotten away with so much over these years. That whole thing with the whole trans, even though I really can care less as long as you just leave me the hell alone and tell me if you really were a dude or not. Being gay is definitely against a lot of the Catholic doctrine. So why is she pushing the whole gay or trans or whatever? It's not from the bottom of her heart. It's so she can figure out who's who in the zoo and know when the country falls, who she's going to round up, who they're going to round up. It's the evangelicals and the Catholics that are trying to overturn the country. Well, not the full Catholics, just the very, very, very far right, the Opus Dei Catholics. We're a secular society because secularism protects all religions. Earth religions, Hindu religion, non-earth religions, mystics, Catholics, Protest, just different all the Protestant sects, because you can't get away with your BS if you can't use religion to be a horrible human being. Do unto others as you wish done to you. And a lot of people hide behind religion to be absolutely horrible and then say, well, it's my deeply held religious belief. Well, you're just trampling on my deeply held religious belief. That's why she has to keep trying to say, they've gone through the whole thing. First he has to be gay. Then he has to. That was the other thing that was cool. Is like, the dude goes, blah blah blah. You hate women. I'm like, I don't hate women. I just can understand what the hell they're saying. I didn't say that part. It was the whole. Because the hardest thing that they're having problems with is that I'm actually intelligent. Because I busted out to him. I was like, yeah, dude, I scored a 27 on my freaking, on the social understanding and language. I aced that part of my ACTs. Actually, I told him I aced my ACTs, but pretty much. So, being intelligent is terrifying because intelligence is the alpha male. And so they cannot allow that to happen. Back to the whole structure of how they manipulate the population, right? And without that, without if I'm intelligent, which I am at a genius level, that kills their whole argument and behavior set. I am the most dangerous thing they have ever run into. So right now we have, speaking of which, I'm sitting there, we have this guy up in Kentucky going up against Ayn Rand, Rand Paul, guy who reads Ayn Rand incorrectly. From hood to the holler, we need money to him. We need to help him get in, or be in ready position to take on Mitch McConnell as a young face in Kentucky. So he keeps building the momentum. We need to help Stacey Abrams. They don't want Stacey Abrams as governor of Georgia because she's going to actually show Georgians how badly, all Georgians, not just Atlanta, but even rural Georgians, how badly they've been mistreated by their own government because these people are such assholes. They're afraid of Raphael Warnock. They're afraid of Val Demings. They're afraid of the Democrats holding the House and the Senate. They're afraid of the youth of Gen Z and Gen Y and the millennials because they're not going to put up with this crap. We have climate change, and these jackasses are trying to flood the earth. There's that ice shelf that's melting in the Antarctic, and I was thinking about it's 8 degrees. It's 8 degrees differential. I was thinking about how can we remove that 8 degrees and cool the water underneath, because the water underneath is warm, and so it's melting underneath that ice shelf. And how do we pull that temperature? Like I was thinking, like maybe do pipes and then underneath the ice shelf, and then elbow them up outside in the water, and so that even though it's up in the air, and then the water it's pulling that heat away from underneath the ice shelf. I don't know. I just keep coming up with these things because we can solve these problems. But these people want to destroy the world, and they figure they're going to just wipe out only those brown people and just be them left. And if they come running towards the high grounds, they're going to destroy them. They're going to kill them all. And then that meme demon will just feed, and they'll become it'll bring in the Antichrist. And the Antichrist is the one who is the one who's all about the earth, as the Christ is all about the above. And the Antichrist might be feminine, or the new Christ might be Christ might everyone sees it's a man. It might be a woman, might be, and if it's the new Christos, might be a female finally rising. Who knows? That's for humanity to understand at that time. But they're so busy trying to create it because they're psychopaths, and the meme demons, they're not really humans. And it made me think about Cain and Abel, because Abel was brought to life via love, and Cain was just brought to life just for sex. Like, oh, he's just banging his wife, and then having to have a kid. But Abel was the love child, and Cain was jealous, so Cain killed Abel. But anyways, there's so many things going on right now. But that's what was happening. And then I get up today and I'm watching, and I was kind of expecting to see what was happening, but now I was like, oh yeah, you guys are terrified of me. You're terrified of me creating the hedge fund. You're terrified of me investing properly, because that was the thing. It was like, oh, you don't know how to do something, so they're trying to say I didn't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. It's none of your damn business. If you want to learn how to do those things, you figure out how to spend the money and figure out and learn. But I'm not going to do that for you. Fuck you. So, like I said, the main thing is that because an entrepreneur, the job of an entrepreneur is they have the ideas, take capital, turn the capital, and use the ideas, take the idea, use capital with the help of labor, to turn the idea into reality. And the greed is they want to overturn the crown, and they thought they were going to manage me to do so, not realizing I'm not playing that. They're going to keep trying, and that the other thing is that the SEALs have been were purposely turned into the shock troops for whomever. That's whomever whoever becomes president, and there's not a control set. Evangelical shock troops, and so they weren't letting others go through. It's kind of like the pilots, Maverick, Top Gun. How many black pilots made it to the end, and or actually were part of the major part of the story? They don't like their shit being shown. The world is changing, and whether they like it or not, which they don't, nobody cares. And they're totally freaking out about because it's starting to hit them about Lady Markle. That's freaking them out totally. So once again, Lady Markle, I know that uh, it would suck, but 90 days, 6 weeks from away from your mom, no phone contact, no nothing. It's just like you're going to boot camp, is essentially pass pass both of the foreign service exams. So that way you don't have this Ivanka Trump moment where you're trying to have a conversation with lifelong diplomats, and you're not just some pretty little face. You're actually a woman of merit. I already know this, but they understand. Oh, we are speaking with somebody who actually cares. We are speaking with somebody who understands, and we are truly speaking with somebody who is equal, as opposed to a Ivanka Trump who's this little snot nose whose husband's trying to overthrow Israel and the United States. Go figure. And the other thing they didn't like was the meaning saying, if I passed or World War III starts, the foreign services of Europe, you know, Rupert Murdoch, Lancome Murdoch, Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Prince, the guy from Blackwater, DeVos, Kathleen Kennedy, Ty Briscoe, Jana Lewis, Holly Adams. So those last three, yeah. But these are the main persons, and the Sinclairs, who are responsible for the deaths of millions of your citizens, and they should be. You figure it out. If they pass, if I am murdered, the crown must do what the crown must do, especially because Rupert Murdoch is working with the Chinese and has been for a while. They don't like their freaking shit being shown. Pardon the language. Well, I know it's kind of late, but whatever. Anyways, I'd like to wish all of us in America happy Labor Day on that part. And Ukraine is doing, apparently, seemingly doing fairly well, or at least that's what the propaganda is saying. Um, I think they're going to be doing much better than anticipated. They realize, you know, and I know for it was a moment I see Volodymyr Zelensky. It's really tired, it's exhausted. We still want it. We want you're picking up the speed. We're coming. You're alerting. We also looked at Britain's expanding the training to 2 extra weeks, so we're getting better quality. We're going to be able to do more combined arms, and then when you be able to do more combined arms, we can steamroll through Crimea, take out that bridge, roll those bad boys up, and just keep cooking off. And then at the end of that, of course, selfish best interest. Also, Volodymyr Zelensky says he has lots of nuclear power. They want to connect to the grid, so we can get this happening. Also, we of course six what's it called? 6 Archer systems, because they have those wheels. They're designed for deep snow, deep mud, and they have the highest probability of being really, really useful, especially coming up in the winter, hitting more shooting scoots. Good to go. And I'm sure BA systems, if the Archer works, which I'm pretty sure it will work as advertised, yeah, overseas sales will be quite nice. So that's all I have. I'd like to, happy Labor Day to us here in America. Slava Ukraine. I cannot say it correctly. Please pardon me. Slava Ukraine. Glory to democracy. And may the flag forever wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.